Hey there, this is Jasmine Haley for Inspire the Future Summit, and our guest for this evening is Miss Laura Smith from Howard Community College. Welcome.
Hi, it is so nice to be here with you. I'm very excited for this. Thanks for having me.
I know, I'm so excited to what people don't know is that I love working with this woman here. And I worked with her for a couple of years and also with our association. And she is a phenomenal educator, amazing person, and wonderful mom genist. And we just have to extend a huge congratulations to her because she just won an Inspire Award from Howard Community College.
Yes. Well, thank you. That is very nice for you to say those things about me. And Jasmine, I also appreciate working with you. You would call me your work wife. So,
Yes.
yes, you. The Inspires is an acronym for HCC's values. So, if I don't know if I have it memorized. I think it's innovation, nurturing, sustainability, partnerships, something something. Sorry, but
You inspire, that's all.
but it's really an honor, truthfully, because it's peer nominated and peer voted on. So,
Oh.
and I said to my husband, like, see all this craziness that I've been doing, it's paid off. I'm being
Let me tell you, I you knew when Laura was coming down those halls, okay? Those little feet was like,
so
and
story. I was thinking about you because today I walked so fast by in clinic, I blew off the overgloves from one of my students' desk, and I said, "I'm so sorry."
you walk like that all the time when you're on a mission. The only time I've ever seen you kind of kind of like this, slower down, is like when the semester's pretty much over. Because you are on a mission and it's just you're just a breath of fresh air to work with, and to think about the fact that it's peer nominated, that even touches my heart because working in such a collaborative work environment with just giving individuals, everyone's a leader in their own right, it's just wonderful to see that, and that's why the program and the staff and everything is flourishing. So, and yes, you were my work wife. I often say that, and if I have to choose who I'm going to work with, I'm always going to pick Laura if I can. Even though I love everybody, I love everybody. All right, so I can't wait for this conversation. Hey, Rachel. Um, Rachel says, "Hey, ladies, love you both."
Hi.
Um, this is a very important topic. So I want to first dive into work-life balance because you've experienced teaching without children, and now you have a beautiful daughter who I just love her. She's so
Thank
cute.
you. Me too.
Um, and it's so funny. I haven't seen her since she was first born, but I just feel like I know her from
Yeah.
watching her on online. And so just talk about that kind of that transition of having a work life balance because you're also involved with state association and other leadership positions and like that. So how do you handle that with being an educator?
So, a few things I would say, and this conversation might bounce all over the place because once you become a mom, that's what happens in here. It's 10 different. But I would say one thing. I am in counseling right now, and my therapist says it's integration. It is work
Mm.
life integration. It's not balance,
Ooh.
but how do you integrate? How do you make your work and your family life work together? And I know sometimes just that semantics just kind of changes and shifts your perspective, like, oh, that's right. Um, I also have to give a lot of credit to my husband. I have a wonderful husband. I'm so grateful for him because he supports me in what I do. And I could not have the career of my dreams and a family without him. So much, much love to him. And also have to give praise to Google because we plan our life. I'm not kidding. Google and Alexa, like we have a Google Calendar and we put everything on the calendar, and then and that helps me to visually see my day and how I manage my time and just finding things that work for you. So for us in our routine, I do the daycare drop off and pick up, and because it takes me a little bit longer to get home, he cooks dinner. So we just have and I'll be honest, the first year was very rough. It was so rough. Just being a new mom, adjusting to that, and then breastfeeding and pumping at work, and just not sleeping is difficult. And for any of you new mamas out there, it if you're struggling, it gets better. And if you're struggling, reach out to somebody for help, because you want to cherish those moments when your baby's little.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely, my husband supporting me, getting into a routine. And also, I think a few things, and these, since I do have a commute, I like to listen to Audible and podcasts. And a few little pearls of wisdom that I got from one podcast was, and it's called By the Book. Highly recommend it. These two women listen or read to a self help book, and then they live it for a week, and then they share. So it helps me, because then
Oh,
I
I
don't.
love that.
But there's this one book, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the title of it, but it's essentially saying, like, you have to pick three. If you have five things: family, work, um, fitness, friends, and like self care. And your self care could be your spirituality too, but you can't have all five in one day, but you can have three. So maybe one day you pick family, friends, and work. Another day you pick self care, fitness, friends. But then you can't, in 1 week or 1 month, you got to say, okay, am I giving each of those facets equal time?
Ooh.
And then the other thing, the Stephen Covey book, is it Covey? Stephen Covey book. What is it? Seven Habits.
Seven habits of effective leaders or something like that.
Yeah. So all of them are good, but first things first. When you become a mom, and I think a busy person,
Mhm.
you have to prioritize. And I'm learning a lesson right now. You will never get everything done. You will never get all your work done. So don't wait to enjoy your life. Don't say, oh, I'll leave work once it's done. No, just stop, go home, and do what matters most and what's most important at that moment. First things first. And sometimes it's take a shower. So I gotta go, I gotta leave, I gotta go to daycare. My kid has a fever. Sometimes it's no, these grades are due right now, or this student is having a little mini crisis. I gotta attend to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So first of all, what powerful pearls of wisdom you've just shared right now. First thing, integration.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a while I was saying I don't really think balance exists because as
Nope.
you said, exactly as you said, that we have to choose out of 5 things. Like every day I'm choosing, okay, this is my like today I have to get this exam made for the students. So I'm
Yeah.
going to spend the bulk of my time with that. I may not be able to do, X, Y, and Z. It'll have to wait until later. And every day I'm picking and choosing and prioritizing what's the most important thing and trying not to allow other people's emergencies to affect okay, and
Okay, so you know the sign
urgency.
you know the sign
Yes.
I have.
Yes, that will impact where I am. I'm focusing, and you know about this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, because towards the end of fall or spring semester, it gets crazy because everyone's like, I gotta finish my, requirements. I've got to
Yeah.
do this, I gotta do that. And it can get very, very stressful.
Yeah. For those tuning in, the sign I have, it says lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And
Hmm.
I think that's also something that I don't know if it's by nature, if it's my OCD or whatnot. I do plan things out, and I kind of back schedule myself. So I know, for instance, I have it's hygienic coming up, and February is a short month. So I know, okay, by this day I got to do that. And then you're not in like a crunch. So and that, I think for me, if I can avoid that feeling like I'm in a time crunch, that helps my stress level go down. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
planning ahead of
absolutely. Absolutely. And I also love the fact that you shared, and that this is very important, especially when you have a family. It's okay to kind of shut things off. Like when I
time.
leave work, and I've stressed this so much in the past few weeks and months and years, it's like when I leave work, like my work stays there. Like,
Yes.
rarely am I bringing stuff home.
Mhm.
Rarely.
Even if you bring it home, I think about it. I'm thinking about
Yes.
the time.
Yep.
And some simple things that I have learned along the way, you can help technology work for you. So on my phone, I have an iPhone, so I forget, I think it's called like sleep time or something. So it silences my phone from chirping and dinging from like 9 o'clock to 5 a.m. or something. And if it truly is an emergency, there's a way people can get through. And resisting the urge to check email over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I even put a social media timer on for 30 minutes and it'll pop up and I'm like, oh, no.
What is the name of it? What's it called?
It's just under your settings, an
Oh,
iPhone.
really?
Yeah, and I discovered this because Brandon and I were talking about Kate eventually using screen time, and he was telling me that there's all these settings, and I was looking. I said I should do that for myself. So yeah, check it out.
Mm.
It's
I
been
would like to do that on the days that I feel like I have extra time. Like, when I don't have extra time, I'm really not gonna spend as much time scrolling. Like, I have looked at, like, what that is, but when I have a day off, oh, yeah, talk about mindless scrolling. Like,
and
you spend
you
there.
do need that that white space. You do need that
Mhm.
downtime, and
Mhm.
you almost have to schedule that in too.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's go into the realm of mental health, because I think that, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast and the things that I do, and about self-care, and why it's necessary, and the road that I went from being burnt out and having stress related illness that was going, undiagnosed for some time, and eventually having to quit my job because of um mental health, and just being at a place that is not good for your health any longer.
Mhm.
So let's talk about some of those things that may happen for educators, and then ways in which we can help support one another more, or even support ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I can't rave enough about my institution, Howard Community College, and I hope that educators at your institution you have something similar, but know what resources are available to you. We have a
Mhm.
counseling center on
Mhm.
campus,
Mhm.
and we have two different things. We happen to call it assist and care team. So there's a student side and a faculty side. So if you see a student that might be struggling and they're showing signs of maybe they're saying things or they used to be very happy and then they're just demeanors changed or they're like falling asleep or all these signs. I could go on and on. You can refer them to the assist so that someone reaches out to them and then you don't just feel like should I say something, should I not?
Mhm.
Yes, you should. There's no harm, it's confidential, it doesn't cost money, so definitely say something. And then also on the faculty side as well. So um, know the resources that you have. And one other thing too, talking about work life integration, I have so much free time. I signed up to be a volunteer chair of the Dental Hygiene Wellbeing Committee. Um, and that for the state of Maryland is a free confidential resource for licensed dental hygienists and dental assistants rad techs. So once again, that is a resource available to you. So I think that's the first step, just knowing what's available and just be conscious that you have no idea what is going on in someone else's head. When I worked in private practice, and I still work there one Saturday a month, love my team, but Dr. Zinger, love her so much. Sometimes we would talk about this. Leave whatever it is at the door. When you open that door, clean slate.
Mhm.
Bring in a positive attitude. She really helped teach me like and we also had a consulting company. Like you have things you can control, things you can't. And if you had a bad day, flat tire, once you walk through that threshold, just start over.
Mhm.
And the other thing too is don't forget that even though you're trying to put on a nice face while you're at work, somebody else might be having a hard time. You just don't know. So treat everyone with compassion, always a good thing. And that's I think also kind of leading by example, trying to be positive. because positivity spreads very well, but negativity spreads even quicker, and it just decreases your uh, work spirit. It decreases everything, makes things bad. So if you're in a meeting and we love faculty meetings, and someone might have something negative to say, we all feel, "Ooh, sticky." But you can always put a positive spin on that and be more,
Mhm.
solution focused, saying, this is going on. Why don't we try this? Not, I can't stand every time you do those kind of things. So just
Mhm.
try and be positive. I don't think I'm by nature a positive person, and I think people would disagree with me, but I actively force myself to be positive.
I didn't even know that
Yeah,
because
I'm very much a pessimist in my head.
wow, wow. And you're a delight to work with because you are always looking for those solutions, always, and
Yeah,
very action oriented.
yeah.
So, in that process, and
Yeah.
that
One
helps.
other thing is, you had talked about mental health, and I had mentioned be aware of your resource, but it's very easy to feel alone and like you're the only one going through that and
Mhm.
feeling embarrassed.
Yeah.
But I don't know the statistics offhand. So many people struggle with
Mhm.
mental health,
Mhm.
and so many people seek out help and are taking pharmaceuticals, and that may or may not be the solution for you, but
Mhm.
you're not alone. I should look up that statistic, but many, many people struggle.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, not every institution, as I've gone and talked to people, is so supportive of faculty in regards to them protecting themselves with self-care and protecting their mental health.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's why you have so many faculty, whether they're in academia or in a um, uh, I'm sorry, elementary, middle, high school. For
Yeah,
some
yeah.
reason, for some reason, the word is
What, are you
escaping me.
tired? It's evening and you've been
Oh my
working
god,
all
right.
day?
Um, they don't even make it up to 5 years. Statistics shows they can't even make it
Yeah,
to 5 years of
yeah,
educating.
yeah,
And there was, when I was speaking about this, I mentioned the, director of mental health. I forgot what the name of it right now, it's not off the top of my head. And he wound up killing himself at Penn State, and that happened last year. I think
yeah,
sometime last year. And so there are a lot of us, we have so much on our plate. We don't know who to turn to. There's no place for us to be vulnerable. We're just expected to be, boom, boom, get everything done and have all of, there's so
yeah,
much on us. So I love what you
yeah.
said. It's like, have some compassion, have some
Mhm.
compassion, have some empathy towards others. You never know what it is that they're dealing with, what challenges they're facing. At the end of the day, our primary focus is to have our students leave the program successful and for us to survive
Yeah, yeah.
year to year.
Agree,
Anywho.
agree.
So what's it like being a xennial educator?
Oh, yeah. So, although I look like I'm 12, I was born in 1986, because you're never supposed to share your age, right? But and I grew up without technology, but then, into middle school, high school, we had, computer lab and everything. And I think I got my first cell phone my senior year because my mom was sick of me calling 1-800, call ATT and say, pick me up from high school practice. You remember that?
Oh my god, do you remember dial-up? You remember dial-up?
Yeah, yeah.
With AOL, the CDs, and,
And then,
like,
like, it
somebody
would
picking up the
spin.
phone while you're
Yeah.
trying to dial up?
You kicked me off the high. I never had internet. I would go to my friend Danielle. My best friend Danielle had it. Like,
Mm.
can we get online? Oh my gosh, so excited. Um, but I think that's a blessing for me because I understand how to do things old school and new school. So it's really nice. And, Facebook came out when I was a freshman in college. The iPhone came out the year I graduated. So, I mean, I've seen technology change and I definitely embrace it. My amazing husband is a software engineer, so he knows a lot about
Mhm.
tech. So if I don't know it, he can teach me and just make it work for you. But also, since I am kind of the younger of the educators, I feel like I still have to be able to be flexible and understand people of different generations, but then also this new student generation. And I say new student, we have students, remember, of all walks of life, different ages, demographics. So you might have someone who's not a younger generation as a student necessarily, but just being able to be flexible, I think, and understand where someone's coming from and how to communicate with them. And
Mhm,
I, for instance, good example, I love Google Docs so much, right?
mhm.
But if I send a link to a Google Doc, someone else who I work with in the institution, they might not have gone to that professional development seminar. They might not know how to use it. So you might want to also attach a Word document or something like that. Or say, I want to share this with you. Does that work for you? Or how can we work better together? So kind of that blending, I would say. And even the word xennial is Gen X and millennial together. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's important and a good point to bring out because I born in 84, and so we're right around that same, age group, just a smidge. And I have embraced technology because
yeah,
of its convenience. So
yeah,
for instance, I'll send responses. I don't type it out. I will send a video.
yeah,
A
yeah. But it works.
video response. Yeah, a video
And I
response.
think a lot of students, this last semester, I taught local anesthesia. Love it so much, but it's pretty content dense, right? And you can
Mhm.
read the book, you can listen to lecture,
Yep.
you can do all your Quizlets, all that stuff, do the homeworks. But I did Loom, thanks to you. You introduced me to the Loom technology, where I would have my slides, and I did the all the slides before the midterm, and I like just blah, 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 these are the important points. And I think them seeing it again and being able to watch the video was just helpful for them. And I always try and take a poll or like an informal poll of my class, like, how do you learn well? What works for you? Take it with a grain of salt because, I'm not going to be doing hours and hours and hours and you just sit there and be passively learning.
Right, right.
But just kind of seeing what works for them. One thing too about being a xennial educator, this happened to me this week, and it just was kind of like an aha moment. I was at an enrichment site. Part of my job is to make connections with the community, find places that we can send our seniors to. We call it enrichment sites because they'll shadow at different offices. And I was speaking to this hygienist that's going to be at a new site, and she was like, "Oh, you're an educator," and we got to talking. We actually graduated the same year, 2012, from dental hygiene school, but different institutions. And she just went into telling me about how awful her clinic was and how awful the clinical educators were and how they would be demeaning and how they would like really be unprofessional, and in front of the patients they would berate her almost, and she just was an A student, and it was just awful. And it just to me was like, there has got to be a better way. Why are people still doing this? You know? And I was talking to Dr. Bryan about this experience. She's one of the supervising dentists that I work closely with. And I said, why does this happen? And it's almost like the cycle of abuse. If the person is abused, however, physical, mental, sexual, however you're abused, what usually happens? You become the
They repeat
abuser
it.
because it's part of your past, part of who you've become. So you have to break that cycle. So I'm not saying that all older educators are like that. Please, please, please don't be offended. Some can be, but I just hope, and that's why I went into education, because I wanted to have positive experiences. And I had a lot of great educators, and I just knew that sometimes there was things that, I thought, I would like to do it, but this way. And I thought,
Mhm.
maybe I want to be a dental hygiene educator. But yeah, just yeah,
Yeah. So
change.
my response to that is that, I feel like there's a solution to it. I feel like it's about like maybe 1%, like this smidge, okay? Like my fingers are
Yeah,
closed. That should never get into education.
yeah, yeah,
And then there's a part of it that is also a group of people who really got into it because they really want to make a difference.
yeah,
However, we don't have leadership training. We don't have any training on emotional intelligence, right? Because everything we learn is clinical, and we don't have any sort of training that really puts up at the forefront of us taking care of ourselves.
yeah.
So we have many faculty that are overwhelmed, and so I often ask, like,
And
what's
you're doing the best
happening
what you
with
got.
you? Yeah. So a
Yeah.
lot of times they receive that because of there's no those elements are missing. Those elements are missing for them. And ultimately when people are like that, it could be, you know, uh and a result that irritability
Yeah.
can be a result of that. So,
Well, thank you to you for having these types of videos and sessions and conferences, because without that, where would some people get that type of training? Because people, I think, genuinely, people want to be the best they can be, but they might not
yeah.
have uh, someone that reaches out and say, "Hey, there's a better way," or "Hey, I read
Yeah.
this book," or "Hey, there's this conference."
Yeah.
I love ADHA, a big supporter of our professional organization, and they have conferences that you can apply for, such as UIP, Unleashing Your Potential.
Yes, which was
And
amazing.
yes, and at their annual conference, they have a wide variety of courses. So they'll
Yep.
have, clinical education and
Mhm.
and student tracks, and it's just great to go to those types of conferences to
Yeah.
get that kind
Yeah.
of extra training.
Yeah, we need that. We need to connect with people outside of the walls of our
Hmm.
office, outside of the walls of our operatory, and get invigorated by people who are just as passionate as we are. So, oh, I really miss you. So, I've got one more question. So, what advice would you give to yourself at the very beginning stages of your academic career? What would you say to Laura, who just started out her very first semester in education?
Well, this is what I tell my students: get sleep.
I love it.
I was in high school. I went to a public high school. I took, the AP classes and such, and it just came naturally to me. And I would read the textbook. I do my homework. I did okay. Then I went to Elon University, which I love. Still donate money to them every year. In North Carolina. My freshman year, I don't know who my college advisor was, but 8 a.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that, I had calculus. And then the alternating days, I had chemistry. And then I had a lab in the evening from 6 to 9. And then I think I was also in a Elon 101 course and then like a political science. It was just crazy. And I loved it. But those 8 a.m. classes, I was like, honestly, probably went to the library too many times the night before. And, your brain can't function without sleep. So just, I think, prioritizing your studies, and to prioritize your studies, you have to help your brain. So give your brain some sleep. And the other thing, if can I get more than one?
Yeah.
Seek out your faculty office hours. My second year at Elon, this is embarrassing to tell this story, but I was in organic chemistry, which is notoriously a difficult class, and I would go to class all the time. That year, I discovered coffee. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'd be more awake, and I would go all the time. They had, I think they called it study hall or TA hours in the library in the evening to help with homework and whatnot. So I'd go to that all the time. But there was this one concept I just couldn't explain, and it was just always crowded. And so I said, oh, I think maybe I'll go ask my professor.
Yeah.
So I went this, and it was great. It was amazing. He explained it to me, it made sense. And then somehow, I don't know how I didn't notice, this is probably like week 10 of a 15-week course. I saw Joel Cardy on his nameplate. And I knew that was Dr. Cardy was his name. And then I looked at the book, Joel Cardy, and I was like, oh my God, this guy wrote the book and I haven't been talking to him all semester. So get sleep, seek out office hours. When you need help or don't understand something, ask right away. Don't wait.
So you're gonna crack up at this. So I am only gonna do this because I know you very well. So so that's for students, but what about if you're an educator? That's what I meant.
Oh, what do you mean?
What would you tell yourself when you first started teaching?
Oh, yeah. Get sleep and nip it in the bud.
Okay, nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud. If you don't understand something, and this is a really good example, calibration is all over the place an issue. If you don't
Yeah.
understand something, Maybe don't ask right in that moment, you know, fake it till you make it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But then find out, hey, and be prepared. Get as much information as you can ahead of time, get whatever kind of policies, the syllabus. We tell our students all the time, read the syllabus, read the manual. Do we do it ourselves? I hope so. you know, um, and then at and I guess maybe I'm a particular picky person, but if you don't understand something or if you need clarification, just ask. And there's a good way to go about it. Another book shout out is The Purple Guide. To Patty DeCanchi, think
I
that
don't know. I don't know
I
that
don't know, but
one.
The Purple Guide.
Okay.
Um, Great. There's like a whole series, but it was basically saying don't come into an office and say I'm going to change everything right away.
Mhm.
Slowly do it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
just ask in a nice way. I had this clinic situation. This is how I responded. Is that right? What could I do better next time? How would you respond? So that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I am very thankful that you shared with us. And this is a reason why connecting with amazing educators, this is why Inspire the Future, the summit was created. And I thank you for being a part of our empowerment series, Laura.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I hope you
Of,
enjoyed my silly stories.
of course, of course. And congratulations again.
Thank you. I miss you, and hello, and hi to your family. Hope they're enjoying North Carolina.
Of course. I miss you too. All right. Bye.
Bye.